Hello, everyone. This is Ashley Tucker from My Favorite Things. I have a couple of cards to share with you today using the Blooming Friendship stamp set. Now, just between you and me, when I started making the cards for today's video, I actually had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't really go into it with a plan. I actually had my 4-year-old daughter next to me, and I gave her the choice between 3 different stamp sets, and I let her pick which one she wanted me to work with. And this is the one that she picked. So because I didn't have a plan for this, I decided to stamp a whole ton of the images from the stamp set, and then once I colored them in, I went from there and figured out how to use them. It was actually really fun to sit down with my daughter and not have a plan and kind of let her guide my crafting session. Not only did I let her pick out my stamp set, I also gave her different choices for other things like the paper colors that I used and the marker colors that I used. I liked to give her about 3 different choices and let her pick, and then I would take that and I would run with it. Not only was this a really good activity to do with my daughter, it also kind of took some of the pressure off me to make decisions, which is something I struggle with. I tend to take a long time starting a card because I'm taking a long time to decide what to do, and this just took that right out of the picture. So yeah, I gave my daughter 3 choices of different stamp sets that I could use, and she picked this one. I took a bunch of the images from that set, put them in my MISTI tool, and stamped them with a Copic-friendly black ink onto some Neenah Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. And then I did color in all of these images with my Copic markers. Now, I did pick out the color scheme for this because I wanted it to be cohesive, but I did allow my daughter some decision making by, for example, saying, do you want this cat's boots to be yellow or green? And then she'd tell me and I'd go with that. I want to mention, you might think my voice sounds a little bit funny. I am getting over being sick. Funny story, I actually filmed this quite a while ago, and when I went to do the voiceover, I woke up that morning and I had laryngitis and I couldn't talk at all, so I could not do the voiceover until my voice came back. I am feeling much better at this point though, so there's no need to worry about that. Once all of the coloring was done off camera, I did cut out all of these different images using the coordinating die set. Once I had all of those images, I realized I wanted to make 2 cards. So with the help of my daughter, I picked out some different colors of cardstock for the backgrounds, and then I started to make backgrounds for each of the cards. For the first card's background, I'm going to be making my own background using all of the small stamps from the Floral Whimsy stamp set. I prepped this piece of green paper with a powder tool before stamping so that I can emboss, and then I arranged all of the images in a way that I thought looked nice, and I stamped them with Versamark ink, and then I embossed with a clear embossing powder. As you saw, the stamps didn't quite fill up the paper the first time, so after I embossed those, I then filled up the rest of the panel and embossed a second time. For the background on the second card, I'm using a piece of blue cardstock, and I decided to use a background stamp for this one. This is the Repeating Rainbows background stamp, and I did the same thing as far as embossing. I stamped with Versamark ink, and I embossed with a clear embossing powder. I cut down each of these background panels. The green one I cut down to be 5 by 3 3/4, and the blue one I cut down to be 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. I pulled out some dark green cardstock and some dark blue cardstock. I cut the dark green cardstock into a strip and I popped it up on the green card. And then I took the dark blue cardstock and I used one of the inside and out stitched arch dies to cut that into a large shape, which I then popped up with foam tape on top of the blue card. Now I'm going to start arranging all of those different images that I cut out earlier. Now for these, I'm going to glue them down both with liquid adhesive as well as foam tape so that I can give the cards a little bit more dimension and interest. So on this green card, the two plants are glued down with liquid adhesive, and this kind of makes them look like they're further back than the cats and the bunny. And then when I did the blue card, I popped up the bunny, and then the two little birds that I put next to him are both glued down with liquid adhesive. And again, this creates the illusion that they are further back. Now moving on to the sentiments for the two cards, I did grab one sentiment from the Blooming Friendship stamp set, but for the other one, I picked two different sentiments from the Sending Sunshine and Smiles stamp set. One of them says happy and one of them says Easter, so I put those together and I get a happy Easter sentiment. I stamped those with VersaFine Onyx Black ink and cut them down into strips, and then I popped them up with foam tape on the cards. For the finishing touches on these cards, I wanted to add some clear sequins. I also added a couple of clear raindrop embellishments on the blue card. I thought that that kind of went really well with the umbrella image. And then I used my white gel pen to add some highlights and details to all of the colored in images. After that, these cards are both done, and I love the way that they came out. And it also was just a really fun time crafting with my daughter. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you really enjoyed this video and that it gave you some inspiration for your own crafting. I hope you have a wonderful day today, and I'll see you next time.